Administrators at WA Senior High Technical School say deaths of students was caused by hepatitis B. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said the West set a bad example by supporting the Ukrainian protesters. Those are headlines for the hour. My name is Kimini Nyamani Amano. You're welcome to News Today. When I return, I'll bring you details of these stories and plenty more. Don't go away. This is News Today. Now, the Atani Bridge will from Monday, March 10, 2014, be closed to all vehicular traffic. Now, this according to the Ghana Highway authorities to allow for major rehabilitation works. The closure will last for 24 months and motorists are to use ferry services provided at Sinchi and Akradi to cross the Volta River from 600 hours GMT to 1800 hours daily. We spoke with Norbert Kwamo, Public Relations Officer of the Ghana Highway Authority, on his desk.
I will say that the bridge is totally going to be rebuilt. Totally going to be rebuilt. The design is virtually the same. Okay, the metal parts, the concrete decking, the cables holding it, all those are going to be replaced. So it involves a lot of work. So it will take time to dismantle, take time to put them together, and then test the members, and then probably before opening it for use. Is to use the ferry services that we are providing at Akradi and Senchi. And you know Senchi, that very same spot, Senchi and Akradi, used to be the ferry sites of the during the colonial days when the bridge was being constructed, or even when the bridge was not in place. It was a very important crossing point on the Volta Lake at that particular section of the river. So we deemed it fit to put the crossing point back to the same place again, and the geomorphology or the geographical structure of the place favors the construction and even improvement on the landing and the decking of the ferry. So that is why we brought everything to that place. Well, in terms of the ferry services and civil works, you know, we have two ferry crafts that will start operation, and then we have also undertaken civil works, that is preparing the landing site, preparing the road from the junction to the ferry site, that is from Senchi Junction to Senchi itself, and then from Akradi Junction to Akradi, Akradi. Okay, there are a little of other facilities, toll booths, operators, canopies, and then washing rooms for pedestrians and motorists. All these are there, and they form part of the civil work. So all in all, we are talking about 13,962 and 996,000 euros.
WA Senior High Technical School has been closed down as a result of reports of mysterious deaths of students in the school over the week. 2 of the students were said to have died, and what some of the students have attributed to cultism. Overwhelmed by the situation, the students asked the school authorities to close down the school temporarily for investigation. We understand that authorities of the school have said that indeed a student of the school died as a result of hepatitis B. Our regional correspondent Rafiq Salam has joined us over the telephone with a quick update. Hello, Rafiq.
Hello, Kamini.
Elaborate on this situation. Just one student we know died of hepatitis B, but the school has been closed down.
Yeah, according to the headmaster of the school, Mr. Gaten Abayele, he told me that the temporary closure of the school, which is normally referred to school balance as midterms, is not as a result of the death of the 2 students of the school. And I tried to inquire from him this morning. regarding the other student that passed on. He said he passed on 3 weeks ago, and then medical report is still not ready. And so, in connection with the student that died, Ahmed Kassim, last Sunday, he said that medical reports from the municipal directorate and another health personnel showed that the man died of chronic hepatitis B.
How long is this temporal closure?
According to the headmaster, he put it straight that it is not as a result of the alleged mysterious deaths at the school. He is saying that it's a normal midterm that they want to give to the students, and which was even planned 3 weeks ago to give the students some kind of breather for them to go and then for them to have a rest and then come back to school. And so he's saying that it's not linked to this alleged mysterious deaths that took place at the school. And so they're supposed to leave campus today and will return on Sunday.
I see. How are students reacting to the death of the last student who died of hepatitis B?
According to the students, some of them I spoke to anonymously, they told me that yes, though there's nothing to point to regarding this situation, but they think that it's something spiritual regarding what transpired. One of the students told me that in line that they are not even talking about the deaths, but they are worried about the number of students that have always been rushed to the hospital each passing day, because it's been alleged that at least every day, 5 students are rushed to the hospital, who the school authority says that it's normal, and they think that one other thing that the headmaster of the school also labeled part of them is due to congestion, because at the moment the school is having over 2,000 students, and then they were expecting the completion of a particular dormitory block or a particular dormitory block, which has not been completed for now. And so they did their admission based on the completion of that particular dormitory, which has not been completed now. And so the students are overcrowded.
Congestion is a very good breeding ground for hepatitis B. What's been the students' responses to the hepatitis B infection?
The headmaster also used that opportunity this morning at the assembly, and also to tell the students that at least these 4 days that they have given them, they should visit health facilities, and then also to check whether they have the hepatitis B virus or not, and so that they can arrest it earliest.
What are the conditions in the Wa Senior High Technical School?
To be honest with you, the students are overcrowded. They are overcrowded. Imagine over 2,000 students in that in those few dormitories that they have, and so in order to make things better, they need to complete that dormitory that they have been talking about, because there are a few projects that are ongoing there, but it's moving at a snail's pace. And so, like the headmaster said, they anticipated that by the time that they even did the admission, that particular building structure, that dormitory, would have been finished by now. Now it's not been completed, and then the students are overcrowded. And even some of I even saw classes on the shade. Some of their classes, because they are even overcrowded, and some even have to sit under shade.
Thank you very much, Rafiq. Rafiq Salam joined us from the Upper West region. From there to the Bunahafo region, the Atani district recorded a 20% pass in the 2013 Basic Education Certificate examinations. District Director of Education, now Francis Chilaku Sigdi, blames the abysmal performance on inadequate trained teachers and poor supervision. Jojo Kobina and the Flora reports, however, questions whether there may be other factors that may not be so apparent.
Under a shed at Kwame Tinting in the Atani district of the Brongahafo region are children from primary 1 to 3 learning so they can make their future meaningful. Some look eager to soak up knowledge, but others have a burning issue to address: hunger. The break time bell bails them out, and they rush out, not to play, but to find fuel for their brains. We followed some children home. Almost all the children at school return home to eat, so they can quickly return to the classroom. Sammy is lucky to have found food at home. Other than that, his grandfather explained he would have cooked something before going back to school.
If you are hungry, you cannot learn. When your teacher is teaching you, according to the hungry, you can't learn. They cook before they return back to school.
These pupils are also lucky their grandmother had food ready for them. But for 8-year-old Nuru, it is a different story. He has to cook during a 30 minutes break. He is saddled with another responsibility of taking care of his brother, who has a mental disability. Nuru is running out of time and hurriedly peels yam. Time is running out, so he leaves the food on the fire and runs back to school. He is not alone. Many pupils do the same thing. People stand close to the fire, anxiously waiting for roasted yam to be ready so they can dash back to school. You're supposed to be in class. Why are you here? Talk to me.
You went to eat.
Have you eaten already?
No.
Why?
My mother go to the farm buy.
What are you eating? What do you have to eat? Yams are abandoned in the fire to be consumed during the second break. However, this young boy is too hungry to wait. He bites into the yam, but his older brother takes it away from him. The school children settle down for lessons, but some still have food on their minds. Roasted plantain sticking out of their pockets. Where did he? In the time Teacher Alex complained that sometimes the pupils do not show up after break.
Master, the situation has not been good for us at all. They have to go and prepare food in the house before they return from the break. By the time that they will come, they might have exhausted most of the time. In terms of academic excellence, we are not achieving it over here. We are not achieving it. And the lower primary, as we speak, is the backbone of the whole education. That is the foundation. So here we have major problem. That has been the major problem over here.
Out of 69 primary schools and 69 kindergartens, only 28 schools are covered by the school feeding program. Perhaps extending school feeding to Kwame Tenteng or sensitizing busy farming parents to provide food for their children could improve quality of education. Georgia Kobner, Joy News.
We'll stay on education, and staff of University of Ghana, the nation's premier university, will not be paid soon because of delays in the release of government subvention to the institution. In the last 3 months, reports say there has been delayed payment of the salaries of staff of the university, largely due to government's failure to release the subvention. It has been established from the finance department of the university that salaries for January 2014 were received in the third week of February due to a similar reason, which saw staff seething in anger. Just when they were preparing this time to proceed to the banks and draw their February salaries, they were held on the tracks by Mercy Hazel Ashia, the registrar, in a memo dated February 26th, 2014. A copy of the memo headlined February 2014 salaries. The university community is informed that the university is unable to pay salaries for February 2014 due to the delay in the release of government subvention. The Progressive People's Party has held its version of the State of the Nation address. We'll talk about that in a bit, but let's go back to the issue that has to do with the University of Ghana. And Peter Lumo has joined us over the telephone. Good morning, Peter. Good afternoon, Peter.
Good afternoon.
Thanks for joining us on News Today. But Peter, tell us the situation really. You're TEU chairman and you haven't been receiving your salary, is that it?
Yes, so I'm not, let me correct, I'm not a local chairman, I'm the national chairman of TEU, but I work with the University of Ghana. And so I've not received my salary, as other workers have not received their salary.
How does the union feel about this?
The union feels very bad. The union feels very bad.
I understand that this is not the first time it is happening.
Yes, this is not the first time.
Right. What do you intend to do about it?
Well, it's an issue that we have raised several times, and the problem is coming from the government end. When subvention does not come, then it becomes a problem. When the university has money, it is generally generated fund to pay. But imagine the university uses generally generated fund to pay salaries of staff for, let's say, 4 months. And the subvention doesn't come from government. We go and borrow from the bank with interest to pay salaries. And government is not bringing the money. It gets to a point, it becomes difficult for the university management.
What does the... Right. Please go ahead.
So, if we are not careful, if by the close of the week, workers are not paid, how do you expect us to come to work? Maybe we have to advise ourselves.
What does advising yourself mean?
Well, you have not paid me. The month has ended. Tomorrow is on the 6th.
Right.
Independence Day. Friday will be 7th. The weekend will be on the 8th. 8th and 9th. And then we'll come to work 11th. If I have not been paid, how do you expect me to come to work? Fuel prices have gone up. Everything is up. And you have not paid the worker as at 11th of the following month.
So you will strike?
I have not said so. I said, well, if by the close of the week they don't pay, you are giving workers the ground to advise themselves. I have not said we will strike.
I see. But when you received the memo, what did the memo say about when you would get the salary?
The memo says if government release the subvention, they will pay. So
I see. Have you heard anything about when the subvention will be released?
We have not heard anything yet.
I see. Thank you very much, Peter. Peter Lumo is TEU chairman, and he joined us on the issue of the University of Ghana staff and their delayed salary. Let's move on to politics now. The Progressive People's Party has held its version of the State of the Nation address, where they called on government to put in measures to alleviate the plight of the Ghanaians. I have with me a member of the PPP communications team in the studio. Richard Niyama is a member of the PPP communications team. Thank you very much for joining us, Richard.
Thank you.
Right, so what are these measures you expect the president to put in place?
The State of Nation address specifically is to tell the nation the state of the nation, the situation of the nation as it is now. But what we saw the president do was a rendition of what he expects to do. And that was in sharp contradiction with even some of the state agencies' analysis of the economy as we speak right now. If you remember, Dr. Kofi Wampa, the governor of Bank of Ghana, issued a release sometime in last month. And the release part of it read that government will need tighter fiscal measures to ensure that the economy is in stable balance. However, the president sought to paint a picture as if everything is okay in the country. When we are seeing fuel prices being increased, VAT has been increased, there's removal on the subsidies of fuel, graduates are searching for jobs everywhere and they cannot find it. And the president seems to suggest to us that everything is so okay with the country. We think that the president must move away from that kind of communication and address the real issues. And what are the real issues? We are saying that our CD, for example, is rising. I mean, the free flight of the CD. It is falling by day. Meanwhile, we have indicated that Ghana is important in terms of value more than what we are able to export. So what can we do as a nation? We can only stop importing by producing what we eat in the country. And that can only be engineered by the government. And so what are we suggesting? We are suggesting that the government, for example, must use the state purchasing power to ensure that people who produce in Ghana get market for the things that they produce. For example, if you produce rice, and at the end of the day, rice that comes outside from the country is so cheaper than what you are able to produce
but
here.
The president did make mention of projects is that, for instance, the jute sacks for the cocoa company. That's a step in the right direction.
Those ones I will call quite temporary. Okay, because on importation of food alone, if you read the State of the Nation's address as the president presented, we spend about $375 million annually on importation of rice alone. Okay, this alone can stabilize our city. So what if, imagine, if the president issued a decree that for senior high schools, for government agencies who buy rice every day to do various things in the country, if we are going to use the government money to buy, then we must buy it from the Ghanaian farmer. Imagine the amount of revenue that will stay in the country. Imagine the amount of jobs that will be created out of that. And so we are saying that if we want to produce a market for the Ghanaian producer, the government must lead. Because number one, the government is the largest spender in the country. And so, secondly, the people are not able to send their farm produce from the farm to the markets because of infrastructure. For example, you produce tomato somewhere in Brown Hafo, an articulator comes to your farm to pick the tomato and it's stuck.
And that's why he's working on some road projects as well.
You see, if we keep talking about the issues, they don't get solved. Because let me give you an example. Last year, in October, the president cut a sword to commence the construction of 200 senior high schools. This year again, the president has cut another sword. I don't know which is which. And so if the president comes to stand in parliament and tell us that we are going to do it and they don't do it, the country is not going anywhere. Again, last year, in the State of the Nation address of the president did say that they are going to give priority to certain areas of the economy. And some of those priorities, today as we speak now, they have not been met. And he came back to parliament to repeat those same things again.
Because some of them are ongoing.
And so there
are some you can't achieve in a year.
A mantra of communication that is going on. We are saying that the president must walk the talk. It shouldn't be just coming to parliament and tell the people that, oh, the economy is so good, we are doing A, B, and C, and at the end of the day, that A, B, and C has not been achieved.
Richard, thank you very much for your time on News Today. Richard Niyama is a member of the communications team of the Progressive People's Party. Now, Ghana is making international headlines for the use and, Ghana, let me fetch that story quickly. And Ghana is making international headlines for the use and production of marijuana, as well as the trafficking of the deadly methamphetamine substance, a narcotic drug, according to a UN report. The UN report released Tuesday painted a gloomy picture of the country as far as narcotics is concerned. Meanwhile, the Narcotics Control Board has warned that the use and trafficking of marijuana could plunge the country into chaos, as the drug is currently found in every nook and cranny of the country. NACOP said despite the fight against the illicit drug, the country's acceptance of the drug and complex networks of its pushers are making it difficult to fight. Speaking at the launch of the annual report of the International Narcotics Control Board in Accra, Executive Secretary of the Narcotics Control Board, Akresi Sapon, called on the media to lead the campaign to fight the use of illicit drugs in the country. There's more news ahead, don't go away. You're welcome back to News Today. Now, the Ghana Private Road Transport Union has warned drivers who flout its directive not to increase fares. The Ghana Private Road Transport Union has warned the drivers who flout its directive not to increase fares that they will face punishment. General Secretary of the GPRTU, Stephen Okujeto, was speaking on News Desk.
Decided to take a look at the recent fuel increase that was announced by MPA Saturday evening. And we've realized that this is going to be a continuous thing. And we have to monitor to see the extent of which the increase will get to before we can take a final decision. as you are aware, we had the last increase not quite long ago. That was the end of January when we had our last increase, 20%. And then after that, there was an increase in February. Petrol went up 2%, diesel went up 2%. And then this last increase that came last Saturday, that one, petrol went up 6.25%, and diesel went up 6%. To monitor and then see if it goes beyond 10%, then we must come out with another increase again. So this is what we are doing. So as at now, we've not increased transport fares. We were all taken by surprise with the recent events. For instance, this last increase, last Saturday, which went up 6.25%, was a bit, it went up at 6.25%, which was on the higher side. We didn't expect such a jump. And then it's possible that another increase will be coming again before June. So beyond that, beyond 10% before June, then we may be compelled to
You defy that June agreement you had.
Exactly.
I see. So why are some of your members already charging new fares? I mean, you're picking taxis now and they're telling you, well, there's been an increase in price, and so I'm going up on my fare as well.
No, it is wrong. It is wrong for anybody or any of our members to do that.
I'm glad we have that understanding. So what are you doing about it?
Well, we only have to appeal to them not to increase.
Appeal to them?
To our members not to increase transport fares. Once that decision has not been taken from the headquarters of the union, they cannot do that.
And if they defy that appeal?
Well, then sanctions will apply.
What sort of sanctions?
Your loading rights can be withdrawn. You can be suspended as well also.
I see.
And they are...
Minister for Trade and Industry, Haruna Idrisu, says government is embarking on an aggressive trade and investment promotion to ensure Ghana becomes a trade hub in Africa. Opening the 18th Ghana International Trade Fair, he assured government's readiness to diversify the economy by strengthening the manufacturing sector.
The Ghana International Trade Fair brought together 400 exhibitors out of the expected 420. Among the exhibitors are 131 foreign companies from 17 countries, with 9 countries from ECOWAS. The week-long fair is to afford exhibitors the opportunity to promote their businesses through networking.
A number of shopping malls are springing up here and there. So the period where people hope that they will come to the Trade Fair Center and see millions or thousands of people buying this and that. It's on. And I think it's important for us to appreciate that. Because if you want something to buy, you will not wait until a trade fair comes before you say, I'm going to Trade Fair Center. You can get it anyway. That is what we're trying to educate the people, that we organize the fairs not as a sales program, not a consumer fair, but it's a promotion of business, where you are meeting your business counterpart to sit down and discuss real business issues. You are forming new alliances, face-to-face discussions, B2B meetings, establish contacts, establish joint ventures. That is the main purpose of exhibition.
He added that for Ghanaians who are purely interested in sales, a subsequent fair will be organized for them. Minister for Trade and Industry Haruna Idrisu, who officially opened the fair, also reiterated government's readiness to promote local manufacturing companies.
Government is embarking on an aggressive trade and investment promotion in situating Ghana as an investment haven. Indeed, it's our desire and desire of government to make Ghana the Singapore of Africa, and trust that we are engaged in many other strategies and measures that will ease the cost of doing business in Ghana. We certainly will support the development of the capacity and competitiveness of a number of Ghanaian enterprises. If we want to up our growth into low middle income status up to upper middle level income, we will need to strengthen our manufacturing base, and the industrial and manufacturing sector should be making a more meaningful and significant contribution to our GDP growth.
Haruna Idrisu also called on investors to continue investing in the economy, assuring them of a full repatriation of their profits in spite of the new forex regulations by the central bank.
China has set its economic growth targets for the year at 7.5% as it looks to continue its efforts to stabilize the economy. The country also sets its inflation goal at 3.5%. Aimed at keeping prices in check. After years of blistering growth rates, China has seen its rate of expansion slide after a slowdown domestically and in key markets. In 2013, the country grew at a pace of 7.7%, about the same as in 2012. Recent manufacturing data has also indicated a slowdown in activity in the world's second largest economy. The latest targets were announced by Premier Li Keqiang in his first appearance at China's annual parliamentary session. The National People's Congress, China describes the NPC as the country's supreme organ of state power, but in practice, it is generally considered a rubber-stamping body for the ruling Communist Party. U.S. President Barack Obama has called for expanded tax credits for the poor and for a reduction in tax breaks for the rich in his annual budget proposal. The $3.9 trillion budget calls for a rise in the minimum wage and for new spending on infrastructure. It would reduce the budget deficit by $651 billion over the next decade. Black Stars will be without right back Harrison Affo in tomorrow's friendly. Baba Tanda will bring us sports when should tell us more about this.
Good afternoon. I am Baba Tando with the latest in the world of sport, proudly brought to you by Cowbell. Now, tonight, Ghana goes into action against Montenegro in a pre-World Cup friendly match against Montenegro at the Stadium Podgorica in the Stadium Podgorica inside Montenegrin capital Podgorica. Now, here are the people or the players who will be doing battle for Ghana, as in the starting 11. Adam Lassen Korase will be in post. Samuel Inkum, Daniel Opari, Jonathan Mensah and Jerry Akamenko will man the defense. In midfield, we have Michael Essien, Andre Ayew, Muntari, Sulali Muntari, Kojo Asamoah. They will be in midfield. And then for the strikers, we have Abdul Majid Waris and Asamoah Gyan. Once again, Ghana starting 11 against Montenegro. Adam Lassen Korase, Samuel Inkum, Daniel Opari, Jonathan Mensah, Jerry Akamenko, Michael Essien, Andre Ayew, Sule Muntari, Kojo Asamoah, Abdul Majid Waris and Asamoah Gyan. The match kicks off at exactly 18 hours GMT or 6 p.m. local time. We'll bring you details of that story in our subsequent sports news bulletins. Now, away from that, let's come down to the local segment. Acting General Manager of Kumasi Asante Kotoko. Now to the local scene. Acting General Manager of Kumasi Asante Kotoko, Samuel Opoku has had his mandate extended by the club's board till the end of the season following the expiration of his 3-month contract.
Samuel Opoku would stay on as Kotoko General Manager till the end of the season. The mandate of the iconic Kotoko figure has been extended till the end of the season following the expiration of his extended 3-month mandate. Opoku future had been hugely speculated in the local media after the club was bundled out of the CAF Champions League. Kotoko were beaten by unknown Liberian side Barak Young Controllers at the preliminary stage, which sparked massive anger among followers. However, the under-pressure manager has got the backing of the under-fire board, who have asked him to stay on until the end of the current campaign. Kotoko are cruising to their first Capital Plus Premier League title after opening a 12-point lead at the summit of the table.
Right, still on the local scene, information reaching Joy Sports indicates that Premier League outfit Accra Hearts will be undertaking a major reshuffling exercise in the coming days. So it's going to be the technical department as well as the backroom staff. They would undergo a major reshuffling, but then it will not affect head coach Mohamed Polo. Remember that Polo has played 6 matches since taking over from David Duncan, and he's won just 2. And in recent times, he's come under intense pressure from fans of the club especially, but according to sources of Joy Sports, Mohamed Ahmed Polo will keep his position as head coach of Accra Hearts, while there will be a major shake-up in the technical and backroom staff. Now, let's check out matches that will be coming up later this afternoon in week 19 of the First Capital Plus Premier League. King Faisal engaged Kumasi Asante Kotoko in the local derby at the Babayara Sports Stadium. Hearts of Lions, they host Bichim United at the Kpando Park. Liberty Professionals are at home at the Dansuman Alaji Slightete Park to Hazakis. Ash Gold take on Inter Allies at the Boise Linkley Stadium. And then Amidas Professionals, they host New Edibiasi FC at the Tema Park. Now, Brazil defender Rafinha hopes to use tonight's friendly game against South Africa to earn a spot in Luis Felipe Scolari's final World Cup squad, as he's worried about his future prospects. Now, the Bafana and the Seleção meet at the Soccer City Stadium in Johannesburg. Kickoff is 5 p.m. GMT, and the Bayern Munich right back Rafinha could make his first appearance for Brazil since 2008. There will be more international friendly matches as Germany play Chile, Argentina take on Romania, while Kosovo will also host Haiti. Barcelona captain Carles Puyol will leave the Spanish Giants at the end of the current season. The 35-year-old Spain defender was contracted until 2016, but he reached an agreement with the club to rescind his contract early. Puyol has made 593 appearances for the reigning La Liga champions since making his senior debut in 1999. Remember that the Black Stars are in action tonight against Montenegro in a pre-World Cup friendly match. The game kicks off at exactly 18 hours GMT at the Stadium Podgorica inside the Montenegrin Stadium Podgoricum inside Podgorica that's it, the Montenegrin capital. And once again, the starting 11 for Ghana: Adam Lassen Karsey, Samuel Inkum, Daniel Opari, Jonathan Mensah, Jerry Akamenko, Michael Essien, Andre Ayew, Sule Ali Muntari, Kojo Asamoah, Abdul Majid Waris, and captain Asamoah Jan. Black Stars have a new kit from sponsors Puma. I'll bring you details of that and more in our subsequent bulletins. My name is Baba Tando. Sports on News Today is proudly brought to you by Cowbell. Good afternoon.
And Russia meeting for talks on the crisis in Ukraine. The meeting in Brussels will be the first public contact between the Western Defense Alliance and Russia's envoys since its forces moved into Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula late last week. NATO announced the extraordinary session Tuesday, saying it was requested by Secretary General Anders Fogh Rasmussen. The alliance offered no further detail. Members of NATO met earlier Tuesday at the request of Poland, which shares the border with Ukraine. Afterwards, the alliance said the Russian military presence in Ukraine presents serious implications for the security and stability of the Euro-Atlantic area. Meanwhile, in Paris, U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry is expected to meet Wednesday with Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. Ibrahim Earbud is an international news analyst. He's joined us over the telephone. Good afternoon, Earbud.
Hi, Kimani.
Earbud, if you could speak up for me, I can barely hear you.
Okay, Kimani, is it better now?
It's better. But what's your opinion of the back and forth about the Crimean Peninsula and whether or not Russian forces should be in Ukraine?
Kimani, I think there will soon be a diplomatic resolution of the conflict because the Russians have shown some modicum of cooperation in that regard. just as you've stated, there's going to be a high-level meeting between John Kerry and his Russian counterpart, Sergei Lavrov, today. But in tandem with that, there's going to be another high delegation meeting between the Russians and NATO on one hand, and then the Russians and the EU on another hand in Brussels. Therefore, I think there is a glimmer of hope that we shall soon get over this current political crisis. But, Kemeni, it's worthy of notice that Russian forces have not yet made an incursion into mainland Ukraine. They are still in Crimea, and that peninsula was originally Russian under the Soviet leader Joseph Stalin, but it was gifted to Ukraine in 1954 by the Soviet leader Khrushchev, who was himself half Russian. But that is not to justify Russia's actions, because in 1994, a memorandum was signed in Budapest by Russia, the US, and the UK not to use force against the political independence and territorial integrity of Ukraine. Therefore, the Americans see Russia's saber rattling or the threat of the use of military force as a breach of that agreement. And they are working frantically behind the scenes to avert any further escalation. On Monday, Obama spoke with Vladimir Putin for some 90 minutes, and the Americans have also threatened to pull out of the G8 summit slated for June this year in the Russian city of Sochi. And they've also suspended all military cooperation with Russia. So, but Russia insists that the moves it is taking are quite necessary because it has to protect ethnic Russians that are within the borders of Ukraine. Therefore, Kemeni, I think diplomacy should be intensified to convince the Russians that they stand to lose nothing, both economically and politically, as Ukraine drifts to the left. But that will be a hard nut to crack. However, it's refreshing that Vladimir Putin has eventually asked his forces to pull away from the lines that lead to Ukraine. Therefore, we wait to see what happens as Russia tries to exert itself in the eastern part of the continent, because it has ceded so much territory to the European Union and other Western countries.
And perhaps that's also a reason the military forces in the Crimea Peninsula. There's also a reason the U.S. Department has said that economic sanctions against Russia were being considered. Is it acting too soon?
I think imposing sanctions on Russia would seriously hurt Russian businesses abroad. But one important country of the EU that has not spoken in the past 6 days is Germany. And Germany is the largest member state and the largest economy in the whole of the European continent. And therefore, those who are really feeling the pinch of a potential economic isolation of Russia know what it bodes for them in the end. And therefore, the Americans are now fighting someone else's struggle, because the Europeans know how important Russia is. And most of the factories in Europe today are powered by natural gas that moves from Russia to the continent. And therefore, the idea of, economically tightening the noose around Russia to make it buckle to pressure and then stop this may not, in the end, help matters. And there is enough evidence that the Americans, in one way or another, had a hand in what is happening. And therefore, the Russians need to be convinced that this is not an attempt by the Americans to cause regime change, because the Arab Spring sent shivers down the spines of the Russians. That is why they are in support of all the regimes that are fighting such calls for change. So for them to be seeing regime changes taking place around them means that if they don't stem the tide of people power, then the next country such a fever will catch up with will be Russia.
I see. We'll leave it here. Earbud Ibrahim is an international news analyst. An Egyptian court is set to resume the trial of 20 journalists charged with spreading false information about Egypt and supporting or belonging to the Muslim Brotherhood. The trial is continuing Wednesday after being adjourned following an opening session last month. 3 of the journalists are from the Qatar-based Al Jazeera television network, which has rejected the charges against them. Qatar's rulers support the Muslim Brotherhood and ousted President Mohamed Morsi. Egyptian authorities have criticized Al Jazeera for what they claim is biased coverage in favor of the Brotherhood, which the government has labeled a terrorist group. The channel's executives have defended their coverage, calling the charges against their personnel absurd, baseless and false. We stay in Egypt. An armed forces chief, Field Marshal Abdul Fattah Sisi, has said he cannot ignore calls by the majority for him to run for president. Al-Sisi was quoted by the state news agency MENA as saying official procedures regarding his candidacy were expected in the coming days. This is the clearest indication yet that Field Marshal Abdul Fattah al-Sisi will stand in the election scheduled to take place by mid-April. He led the overthrow of President Mohamed Morsi in July last year. Field Marshal Abdul Fattah al-Sisi widely expected to resign and declare a presidential bid since the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces gave his public support at the end of January. East African countries said they are ready to send a protection and stabilization force to South Sudan, where fighting has continued despite a ceasefire. Peace negotiations taking place in Addis Ababa have made little headway. The Intergovernmental Authority on Development, the East African bloc mediating the peace talks, said East African countries are prepared to send protection forces into South Sudan to halt the ongoing conflict. A general deal to cease hostilities continues to be violated by both parties in the conflict. Our headlines again on News Today. Officials of the WA Senior High Technical School say death of a student was caused by hepatitis B after a temporal closure of the school. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said the West set a bad example by supporting the Ukrainian protesters that Russia has accused of an unconstitutional coup. There's more news on myjoyonline.com. Thank you very much for your company. Goodbye.